For a little while, I kept seeing Baby Reindeer on my list of recommendations on Netflix, and for a little while I was pretty certain I wouldn't watch the show. Now hear me out. I knew that it was good because I had read it was, and because it kept getting recommended to me by people I trust. It actually kept getting recommended more and more, so I did start to wonder, but I thought Baby Reindeer was something I had seen before. A thriller about a stalker. That felt familiar, so I wasn't immediately enticed. However, I was very, very, very wrong. Baby Reindeer is a fantastic piece of filmmaking, a masterful, heavy, honest, and deeply saddening story, and I found myself affected by what I was watching more than usual. Of course, it's happened before that films or TV series have made me feel sad or emotional for various reasons, but I haven't felt such a deep underlying sense of paranoia while watching anything for a while. So I just had to try and answer this burning question inside of me. Why? Why did this show make me feel these things? At first, I thought the reason was Martha. Watching that character brought this heavy sense of unease inside of me, this sense of fretfulness. The first 3 episodes of Baby Reindeer are centralized around Donnie and Martha and are very much exploring and setting up the core narrative of the series. A comedian has to deal with a female stalker. The show works so well, at least in the first 3 episodes, because the setup of Martha's character and the development of Martha's character are incredibly multi-layered and crafted masterfully. On a simple narrative level, we know only that Martha is mentally ill and dangerous. And because of the clever way that the story develops, because we keep seeing these cracks in Martha as she acts in seemingly patternless ways through chaos.
Just to give you some context, ladies and gentlemen, this is Martha, my stalker. Say hello to Martha.
Don't you dare say that to me!
Well, in that case, we are unsure what she's going to do next. She could do anything. She could either sink in herself or she could get violent. And this keeps us on our toes and creates immediate intrigue and that underlying sense of paranoia. But more importantly, as an audience, we immediately connect to Donnie as we share a similar feeling with him. It feels wrong to empathize with Martha, especially as we are observing her behavior more objectively. And yet, we do. We also do understand the severity of the situation better than Donnie, and we know things will escalate. But still, every time Martha shows a different side of herself, we just can't help but care for her. Martha is a flawed human, a deeply, deeply flawed human, someone who is just simply not well, but she is still human, which is the key to making all of this work. The character is not archetypal. Martha is not simply a female stalker, but an actual person. Having seen what we've seen, we should feel no remorse for her when we see her like this, for example. But similarly to Donnie, we do. Because we're people, and people care about people. All of this confused me further, and I think also highlighted that feeling of unease. And so for a while, I thought that Martha was the key piece that made Baby Reindeer stand out. But then, progressively, she started to become only a single cog in the machine. In its 4th episode, the show almost shifts focus, and Martha becomes a consequence of something much larger, something even more traumatizing than dealing with a stalker that happened in Donnie's life beforehand. And then in the following episodes, this idea continues as Baby Reindeer masterfully combines all of its heavy themes, giving each of them the space it needs to flourish, while also referencing all the little breadcrumbs that have been dropped along the way. Donnie's insecurities about his masculinity, his sexual orientation, his family, his environment, his profession, the abuse he suffered, and of course, Martha. Everything combines seamlessly, and it all begins making sense. the core of the show is not Donnie's relationship to Martha at all. The core of the show is Donnie's relationship to himself, and Martha is simply a physical manifestation of that. And it turns out, Baby Reindeer is a lot more complex, layered, and smart than I originally thought. And so with each passing episode, all these themes and ideas develop further and further until finally crescendoing in episode 6, where Donnie tells the whole world and himself the truth about everything.
And not me, but then bam! Reality smacks me in the face. I am so naive.
However, the finale of Baby Reindeer is quite surprising in a lot of ways. To be honest, immediately after watching, I even thought the finale was subpar to everything beforehand. I thought the episode ruined a lot of the development of the characters, it opened a lot of doors that were previously shut, it unraveled a lot of things that were previously neatly wrapped up in a bow. And I did wonder why Richard Gadd decided to include all of this in the end. Things like Donnie's obsession with Martha, him giving up comedy, and of course, going back to his abuser and accepting a job offer from him. And the reason for all of this is of course the same reason, the same simple, clear, and obvious reason, but so simple and clear that it just seemed improbable as to why Baby Reindeer gave me that feeling of unease. It's all a true story.
41,071 emails, 350 hours of voicemail, 744 tweets, 46 Facebook messages, 4 fake Facebook accounts, 106 pages of letters, and 1 cup of tea.
And I don't mean that in the sense of this really happened, so it's bothering me more than it would be otherwise because it's not fiction. No. The fact that the show is based on a true story just keeps it unusually and overwhelmingly honest and vulnerable. Baby Reindeer consistently feels heavy and emotionally impactful. Not because we know that what we're watching really happened, but because that truth bleeds out on the screen. None of it feels forced because none of it is forced. Every scene hits because honesty and vulnerability are things you just can't make up. Richard Gadd is fantastic as Donnie, because in many ways, Richard Gadd is Donnie. And each scene carries such heavy weight because it's not developed through imagination, but through experience. This is why Martha feels like a real person, because she is a real person, or at least the writing behind the character is honest. It's also why so many themes are so flawlessly weaved together, because these are things that the creator lived through, so the story doesn't feel forced or overcomplicated. It's why the finale is the way that it is, because life, real life, is not about neatly wrapping everything up in a bow. Things are much more complicated, and real healing takes much longer than what fiction often thinks it does. And finally, it's also why the show made me uncomfortable. Because of the way that the story is told, the emotion through which it is told, the pain on the screen, the real-life trauma on screen, all of these things are inherently really inside this piece of media that I'm watching. You just can't fake that. You can't fake vulnerability. And when someone really does show everything there is to know about them, everything about what makes them human, oh, that's something special. So why am I even surprised that I felt a certain way while watching Baby Reindeer? Guys, thank you so much for watching another video essay. I really do appreciate it. Please comment below what you thought about this show, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this essay. Thank you all. I love you all.